at how you look?
Sure.
Do I look hot?
Most important
Absolutely not.
Yeah. It's like cute.
Yeah, that's great.
Great.
Like very well framed.
God bless.
Like cuts off here.
Perfect. You can't get my feet for free.
No, we don't want to do that.
No, definitely not.
Gotta get money for that.
Mm-hmm.
Well, welcome. This is our second episode of our show.
Yeah. I think that's what it's called.
Yeah. So welcome back to Eventful. My name's Olivia.
My name's Meg.
And we are wedding planners in southeastern Pennsylvania, Chester County primarily, but we also service Delaware, New Jersey, and Maryland because we're close enough to do that. So,
yeah, we've been in the industry for over 10 years between the two of us, and this is just our little show to hopefully spread the word and get some people some information. We hear a lot from clientele that weddings are the first time that they've ever planned an event.
Yep.
So we thought that we could make some informational videos just talking about the wedding planning process.
Yeah.
So
today we're starting at the very beginning. It's a very good place to start. I had to. I'm sorry.
Let's cut.
Yeah.
That's enough.
Yeah, you don't want to hear me sing.
You just break out a pitch pipe.
Yeah. So you just got engaged.
Congrats!
Little finger gun action there. Yeah, so kind of we're gonna go through sort of in order, sort of not in order, but just kind of like some of the basic things that you're gonna want to do as soon as you first get engaged.
Yes, from a wedding planning perspective and from years of experience with clients.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
What we think people should do first and what how to make the process smooth. Mm-hmm. So
absolutely. And from Meg's perspective, as somebody who's actually been a bride in this
as a COVID
well.
bride.
Yes.
To make it even worse.
to make it interesting. You know? Yeah. So, first off, enjoy yourselves.
Please.
Take the time to celebrate this moment.
It's
amazing. Like, you're celebrating this relationship between the two of you and taking it to the next step, you know. So enjoy this little chapter while you're in it.
We keep doing this because it's a bubble.
Yes.
You need the bubble.
Mm-hmm.
Enjoy it. My husband and I, when we got engaged, didn't tell anyone for 24 hours, which kind of killed us. And that does require like a private proposal
setting.
Yeah. So like, I know that's not always doable, but I was so glad that we did. We got to sit and talk, and we talked wedding, but we also talked about life, you know. I mean, that is monumentous.
Mm-hmm.
Or is it momentous? Monumental? Yeah. English.
Sure.
Smash
them together.
Yeah. And I was so glad, and we got to tell the very first person in person, and then we called all of our family members individually and
Mm-hmm.
told them. And I highly recommend having a day to yourselves to process and be excited and talk about so much more than wedding planning. So
yeah,
because the rest of your lives.
Exactly. It's a step towards the rest of your life. You know, your wedding is one day, but this is more a step towards your marriage, which it's good. The rest of your life there. So
yes, but that's up to you guys.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll focus on the wedding planning part.
Right. But yes, that's optional. But definitely, you know, just take the time to enjoy yourselves. Tell your family and friends. Mm-hmm. Post it to social media because you're just gushing with excitement. Just make sure, you know, you tell everybody you want to before you post it on social, because that's not really cool for some people who
like, tell your mom.
Yeah. Might not want to find out that way. Yeah.
You're like at mom at dad. FYI.
Yeah, BT dubs. This is happening. So kind of the next flowing into, you know, what you were talking about, take the time to talk to your fiance, kind of sit down together, one-on-one. It's easy to just get carried away and start thinking like, I need to start booking all of these things, but you really need to figure out what you both want. Like, as much as people talk about, oh, this is the bride's day, it's still about the both of you at the end of the day. And so you need to both be on the same page about what you want. And I know some partners may not be as into the whole planning process, so you might kind of feel like only one person is doing that, but just kind of checking in, making sure you guys both are getting what you want out of this day. That's also probably going to be, for some people, the most money they're going to spend until they like buy a house.
Yeah. In like a single day.
Yeah. So yeah,
for like the average person.
Exactly. So important that it's a mutual decision, at least some of the biggest pieces there. So, and try not to get, take other people's advice with a grain of salt at this point, like
except for ours.
Yeah, except for ours. Listen to everything we say.
This is gold.
But I'm sure other people are definitely gonna have input on your day, but just make sure at the end of the day it's really what you want, and try not to overcommit at this point. We definitely want these bridesmaids, like we have these people involved, bridesmaids, groomsmen. Try not to get into that just yet. Give it a minute before, and like just make sure you know what your vision is, first and foremost. So
yeah, and I think that ties into very first steps usually come down to budget as well, and then you can sort of figure out the other details. A lot of people I know personally have been skipping bridesmaids and groomsmen altogether. They don't want to put that financial burden on their family and friends. But it's also, extra expense for them as well in some cases. So, I think it's good to take a beat and not overcommit to things when you're excited and you have nothing but ideas.
Right.
It can be good to take a minute and be like, okay, let's see what the logistics are first.
While you're at it, go ahead and get your engagement rings sized, insured. I believe I said I was going to double check this and then I didn't, but
I'm sure it's out there.
Pretty sure,
major
some
companies.
Jewelers and stuff will have deals where like if you buy your ring with them, you can come back throughout the years and they'll clean it and they'll make sure your rock is in place and all that for free, I think, for like life, as long as you're coming in regularly and stuff. I believe.
I think some
like K Jewelers, I think, does that.
Yeah,
something
I think
similar.
They do like some kind of like insurance plan,
right,
kind of thing, where it's like if you're getting regular cleanings and like maintenance, which makes it sound like a car,
right? But your stuff will get loose in there, and so you don't want to lose it.
Absolutely, yeah. Then it'll be covered if you look down and you're missing a stone or something.
Yeah.
And even if you can't get it through the jeweler, that is very accessible through most insurances.
So along with that, getting it insured. Said. But yeah, so get that insured now that you have this new major piece of
and a lot of jewelers, if you come back to them shortly after like the proposal, they will size it for free. So, and that's what mine did.
Pro tip.
Yeah. And they usually tell the man, but if he doesn't remember, I did. So you're welcome.
They're just, memories are like sieves.
He did tell me that.
Yeah. Oh, good. Well, I'm surprised.
He told me after he proposed, because the ring was huge. It was like loose on my thumb.
Did he test it on himself? Was that?
He was like, I don't know if you noticed, like a couple months ago, I was literally comparing your finger to my finger, trying to figure it out. I was like, I own rings. You could have just.
So maybe we need to back up for before you get engaged.
We could do a video on that.
Yeah. If you're looking, here are some things that you can figure out.
I was like, I own rings. You didn't look at any of my jewelry. Like, he was like, no, just like holding my hand, and he was like, oh, just it's fine. I'm like,
just eyeball it.
Just trying to see which of his fingers matched mine.
Oh my God.
Like, that did not work out well.
No.
So, anyways,
clearly, gosh. Well, glad that you got it sized for free.
Yes, I did.
In the end.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. So yes, um, now we're getting into the nitty gritty. So um, really, when you are going to start your planning process, you need to start with a budget.
Yeah.
Look at your finances, see where you're at. This could also affect your planning. If you really want a big wedding, but you have no money, maybe you'll be putting together a savings plan for yourselves, and then you'll figure out, when you're getting married after that, maybe you're gonna get gifted money from your parents or something. That happens.
This is a lot of the
Mm-hmm.
time, the first time couples are joining finances as well.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, it's good to, in general, do an audit on your finances for all of your financial goals
Yes.
together. But definitely for a wedding, like, you need to come up with a plan. If you don't have all of the money up front, then, you need to create a budget and a savings plan over the period of time in which you're trying to get married, which sounds obvious, but
Yeah.
you know.
But when you're booking vendors, etc., which we'll get into later, but obviously you're going to need to put down deposits for your venue, all that. So you're going to need some money to even get the process started. So just things to think about there, as well as make sure you take into account that there's other parties and things that come before the actual wedding day. So engagement parties, if you want to do one, bridal showers, bachelorettes. And it's not, I think a lot of times, on occasion, some other people end up paying for all of or portions of these. Maybe you have a sister or somebody who will be covering those, but it's not to say that you wouldn't have any expenses. Your attire, your suit or your dress or whatever that you want to wear to those, or there might be something else, or if you do want to financially contribute to those, then kind of think about that as well, because that's just other expenses that will be coming up in the next few months that have nothing to do with your actual wedding day, but are big things as well. So make sure you're thinking about that when you are starting to budget.
Yes, and the answer can always be no, we don't want to do that.
Right.
Yes. Like, you don't have to do anything you don't want to. And I feel like that is worth saying.
Absolutely.
Because so often you start to share the news with friends and family and everyone has an opinion, especially if they've been married, like you said earlier.
Yeah.
Like, the thing about wedding planning, and this is not my line, this is from Eliza Schlesinger, who did a comedy special about wedding planning, which is hilarious. Wedding planning, and this is her line, is one of the few things in life you can do once and be an expert in. And it's so true. Everyone who's walked down the aisle successfully,
right,
will be giving you their opinion. So please just keep in mind that it's okay to go, oh, okay, thanks, and then do whatever you were going to do anyways.
Right, yeah, so. Exactly. Yeah, I think that's super important. Yeah, again, just kind of all coming back to make it your own thing.
Yeah,
whatever you want to do. So after you figure out your budget, probably the next best place to start is your guest list, because this will also trickle down into everything else that you do, because your guest list is going to affect your caterer and any rentals you may need, party favors. Everything gets multiplied, or very many things that have to do with your wedding, how big your cake is, get multiplied by that number that the guest list is. And the easiest way to cut down on a budget is to slash your guest list. Unfortunately, which, obviously you want to be there with the people you love and everything, but also don't be afraid to be meticulous when assessing your guest list. A lot of people have parents that want to invite a bunch of people. Just making sure you have who you want, and if you don't want to be paying for extra people potentially.
No, I think that's a great point, and I think it's that was one of my biggest misconceptions when I was planning my own wedding. I remember, and it's so funny, in that bubble for the one day, talking about wedding plans and who we wanted to be bridesmaids and groomsmen, and I remember both my husband and I saying, like, the only thing I don't want to sacrifice is the amount of people we can invite.
Right.
What a joke. Like, that is easily like
Mhm.
the biggest expense kind of because it has such a ripple effect.
Mhm.
Like, you think about one of my big eye-opening moments with that was when you were helping us with rentals and you found literally the chairs, because I needed chairs for the ceremony and then chairs for the reception, and they were in two different locations.
Yeah.
And it was but it's times like 200. So you found
Mhm.
chairs that were like $1 or $2 less per chair, and it went from like $3 to like $1 per chair or something.
Yeah.
And that saved me like $400.
Yes.
So, and I was like, oh my God, that's insane.
Mhm.
And I feel like that was one of my biggest eye-opening moments where I was like, holy shit.
Yeah.
I was like, everyone can actually get lost.
I know.
I was like, goodbye,
so,
I don't
yeah.
need you. Like,
I was like, I think one of your very first lists that you guys came up with, and obviously we had to redo everything about 3 times, but it was over 300 people.
it was 318.
Yeah. And that was because you both have big families.
It's true, yeah. We both have like a million cousins.
So, and you're close with a lot of your cousins and stuff. But
which, lucky.
it's great. Yeah.
Thrilled. Love
Grateful.
them.
That's also why you wanted them there.
Yeah, for sure.
But, you know, then it starts adding up very quickly after that. I don't know where you landed in the end. Over 100
I think
something.
we made it to like 208.
Okay. Yeah.
I think was it. And then a few people didn't show or something like that.
Right.
I think we might have made it in the 190s for attendance.
We lost some people in like the last couple weeks up to the wedding, I think.
There were a few that we weren't sure about.
Yeah.
But anyways, I was quite happy with the population that was with us on that day.
Yeah, sometimes as you get closer, you start getting to be like really grateful that people are dropping out, even though you're kind of sad about it. But like,
it's okay. I'll see you later. It's one day. Like,
yeah.
And like, that's not to say there aren't like, you know, and my husband and I also had the list of people. We were like, we cannot get married without these people there.
Mm-hmm.
And that was the most important thing. And those were the people we were willing to sacrifice things for. You know,
Sure.
Especially in early wedding planning, where we were like, if we need to move the date for these people, that is important to us. Like, I don't see myself being able to walk down the aisle without that person there. And if they have a conference or something insane they can't move, then like, I'll move my wedding, you know?
Yeah.
Especially up front when you have more flexibility before you've booked a venue.
Mm-hmm. So next step, if you're already thinking about things and getting overwhelmed, is to hire a wedding planner. That's us. Or a coordinator for the day of, if you just think you're going to have a lot of moving pieces and you'd like somebody on the ground who is not a bridesmaid, is not a groomsman, is not your parents.
Would not be invited to the wedding.
Yeah, who would not otherwise be invited. To be able to keep an eye on things, make sure your vendors are good, and keep everything flowing smoothly, dealing with the things that are going on in the background. If you see something happening that you don't like and you don't want to address it yourself, then you can walk up to one of us or your planner and be like, hey, can you deal with this?
Yeah.
And you don't have to, again, get somebody else pulled out of the fun of the wedding and like having to deal with that. Yes. A lot of the stuff is happening before things even start kicking off.
I have just heard so many horror stories about people who had either an unreliable coordinator or didn't get a coordinator or said, my mom's going to do that, which is fine, especially if you're doing like a DIY wedding. It's really just like, know the risks you run is that they will be working your wedding. Yeah. If you tap someone, you know, and you need to be realistic about that. They're going to be working the wedding. They're the person. Every vendor who comes in is going to try to find someone and go, where do I set up? Do you guys have power? Where's the water hookup? Yes. And you need someone who's going to be a point person. We had a conversation with a friend not that long ago who said that her coordinator didn't show up on time. And then she was like in the fetal position in her closet, like, everyone go home. I don't need a wedding, because every vendor tried to find her. She was trying to get ready and get dressed. And it's just so stressful to try and be doing literally everything. And yes, I think when it comes to being a bride, especially as someone who is a little bit controlling, me, I think whatever you're thinking to do on the day of your wedding and whatever you think that you can do, scale it back, do less. let go of something else. You know, whatever you're thinking right now, let go of one of those. Like, you're gonna be already out of 10. Like, most likely, unless you're the chillest bride ever, which like power to you if that is the case. But
I think it even gets to some of the chillest brides. You know, we've had we've worked a few weddings where it was a very chill couple, and then they're like, you know what, we got it, yada yada, everything's fine, and then we kind of get to the day, and they don't have as much time on their hands as they thought they did, and so we were there to
happy to be there
and
happy to be those people
to be there. Like, I'm glad they hired us, or else I don't know what would would have happened, but they would have been scrambling to be able to just get these other things in place before guests start arriving, before things start kicking off. So really, like, as much time as you think you're gonna have, everything always takes longer. I've learned that myself. I will commit to things in life, and think it's not gonna. Oh, that'll take me like 15 minutes or whatever. Everything will always take longer. So no matter how much you try to scale your time, and again, you're always going to get interrupted by vendors popping in and asking questions, things that you don't even think. Bridesmaids needing things.
You have to sit there and be still for hair and makeup, even if you're doing your own.
Right.
For an hour to 2 hours, depending on, what you're doing.
Right.
And that alone will kill time.
Yes.
And it adds up really, really quickly. And like, when we say coordinator, some people now are coining the term like 6-month coordinator, 6-week coordinator instead of day of coordinator. And I do think that is a good medium for some people. Some people are still a true day of.
Right.
And we're kind of, I guess we would be much more like a 6-week coordinator,
6 to 8
2-month
week,
coordinator, because we'll start to check in. We want to know who your vendors are, so they're not strangers to us on the day of. We'll reach out to people in advance, and this is not just trying to sell ourselves.
Yeah.
I'm just, I personally think,
a little bit, but
I mean, we're pretty good. But I also personally think it's a great medium for people who are not interested in a wedding planner, or think that might be a little too much. I think it's a great medium between someone who's there from day one, like a wedding planner, and someone who's there only on the day.
Yes.
Which also kind of makes me a little nervous if somebody's literally just to show up. And stage manage it without any of the rehearsal.
That would give me anxiety.
I don't know if I could do that.
I won't put myself in that position.
Yeah, we're there, we're in your face, and we're bothering you and saying, are your deposits paid? Do we need to pay any vendors on the day of? And
yes, we want to get ahead of all that. If there's anybody you need to be paying, it might be your caterer who you're doing a final balance to. Blowing away, right?
Oh. My hammock stand's still there.
Well, that's good.
Our chairs, the blue chair's gone.
Yeah, there's one over there.
I should have taken those in. That sound, I was waiting for like a tree limb to come through this window.
Literally.
Anyways. I feel like we're getting on a tangent about vendors, though. You may want to choose a day of coordinator or a planner at this point in the game, depending on your needs, and also if you're a very busy person, I highly recommend.
So yes, at this point, you're going to want to start thinking about whether you feel like you can handle all the planning process or not. So this would be a good time to loop in a wedding planner if you want somebody there for the whole of it, or just a day of coordinator to handle stuff roughly 2 months prior and to the day. So next thing you're going to want to do is determine your wedding style. So this is kind of a little bit more fun stuff. You get to kind of
break out the Pinterest board.
Exactly.
You already have one.
Yeah. I've had one for years and not getting married anytime soon. I don't know.
Everyone has one.
Marry myself. I'll be one of those weirdos. You're going to want to kind of also take into account what time of year you're going to want to get married. Do you love the spring, the fall, winter, summer? Take into account all the different things that come with that. Obviously, summer, do you want to back up being inside because it could be really hot depending where you are regionally. Winter, you also run the risk of snowstorms potentially getting in the way of your actual wedding.
And yeah, you'll just need to think, because you'll also need this stuff like heaters.
Yeah.
If you're outside, and does your venue provide them? Is that something you need to rent? I've seen a lot of people try to combat that in other ways, where they like have blankets ready for guests, and have like a hot cocoa bar or mulled cider or something.
Yes.
But something to consider is definitely your guests' comfort. Providing fans in the summer, possibly.
That would be amazing. I still just remember one of the first major weddings I ever attended was and planned my sister's over 10 years ago when I was maid of honor, and literally nobody in the family had gotten married. She's like the oldest of our generation, so like nobody had gotten married for like years, so nobody was really like up to snuff on like what should be done at that point. She managed to get married on literally it ended up being the hottest day of the year. It's like June, end of June.
I have heard so many stories about this day.
Thank God there was just, it was mostly outside, so it was a tent wedding. We had a ceremony outside under a tree, which at least was shaded, and we had just the whisper of a breeze, which kept us from absolutely dying. But I just remember sitting there perfectly still, just sweat dripping off my arms. It was like the most disgusting I've ever felt. It literally peeled my dress off of me at the end of the night. I was like, I've never felt so disgusting. We must have lost like 5 pounds from like just dancing and just sweating.
I've seen the photos from it. Everyone looks like they literally just like a sheen across everyone.
Yeah.
Where it's just beating down on you guys.
It was intense. And to top it off, the way the tent was positioned, the entire bridal party ended up getting stuck at the end of the tent that had the sun beating down on our shoulders. So that was poor planning on our behalf as well. I believe the tent had sides, but I think they were windowed ones anyways.
I remember, because Mariah and James showed us their wedding video when we were engaged, and they were so excited, and it was so cute.
Yeah.
And I remember seeing, there's like a window, and I remember Alan just look right there. That's a heat stroke that I'm having. Oh God.
So most of the guests ended up hiding. There was a small house that it was next to, but it wasn't actually big enough for like have a wedding in. So that was air conditioning, and a lot of the guests ended up hiding inside for most of the event until it got darker when the sun went down. But the bridal party tried to keep the party alive.
You're like, come on, guys,
dancing our pants off, just like try not to pass out and go to the hospital in the meantime. So anyways, things to consider. I think even just having fans would have made a huge difference in just airflow and all that for that type of wedding.
And that is another example of why you hire a day of coordinator, because if that was happening at a wedding that we were doing, the way that we would be calling every person we know with a fan to drive to us, or running, we've made Walmart runs or what have you in the middle of an event to be like, nope, we'll get it, like this problem will be solved. And first and foremost, we will put that fan on the bride and groom.
Right. Yes, for sure. And you can get creative. Sorry, now I'm like thinking of other things for that. But like one of our, if you don't want to rent, like a lot of tent rental companies will have fans you can rent as well, which is great.
Good to have as backup.
Already, ready to go there. But one of our brides bought a bunch of, they didn't plug in or anything. They were either battery powered or something, I think. Or maybe they did plug in. Anyways, from Costco. And they were really
those were
like
killer.
legit.
And that was a hot day.
She got like a great deal on them. So that was like a possible alternative.
Costco's amazing for weddings. Amazing.
Yeah.
They have bouquets. They have like a whole wedding pack. I've heard a lot about people getting their non-alcoholic beverages that way.
Right.
Because you get everything in bulk. So,
Amazing.
and I've also heard the cake at Costco is incredible.
I have had Costco cake, I think, and it was delicious.
Yeah, I
It's great.
remember Alejandro had some at a friend's wedding, and he was like dying over. He was like, "What bakery was this?" And the groom was like, "Literally Costco."
Yeah.
And he was like, "Oh my god!" He was like,
Jesus.
"Thought this was like a fancy boutique bakery.
Right.
Like, need their number." Like,
Yeah. So,
so there's a little pro tip if you're doing the DIY thing.
get in
Costco.
Costco. Absolutely. So yeah. So with you, this all started with wedding style, and here we are. But the time
so
of year,
good at being a tangent queen.
That's great. We're doing good. So yeah, definitely get your Pinterest together, figure out what time of year you're interested in and what might come with that. And then, also, figure out your style more specifically. Are there just certain colors you want to stick to? Do you want to go boho or rustic or classic? Do you want to go with like 1920s?
Yeah, a theme.
Gatsby theme, whatever it is, kind of figure that out. And once you figure that out, you can then start looking at venues that are going to fit that style, or it might kind of go hand in hand or go vice versa. Maybe if you don't really know your style, maybe looking at venues
could help.
Yeah. So when you're starting to look at venues, this is probably going to affect quite a few things. Could potentially, because some venues will have restrictions on the vendors that you can have. They already may have lists of, usually caterers are always almost tied to a venue. Whether if it's a required list or a preferred list, they might just have one caterer that they work with, or they may have a list you can choose from. So sometimes that'll kind of affect that. So also keep that in mind, because like if you already have a caterer in mind that you really love, but there's a venue, like maybe you don't want to go with them because you can't bring in your own caterer or whatever. And then obviously a venue is also going to, you need to make sure it can fit your guest list that you want. And this will also play into budget. See what they already offer in their packages. Do they already offer tables and chairs, and maybe even linens, depending if they already come with the caterer as well. You can kind of see how many things you can check off on the ultimate list, which we'll get into probably in another video, the full rundown. But make sure you're really trying to get your bang for your buck based on whatever your budget is there. Because there's so many things that a venue may or may not have, and maybe it's more a DIY venue, and it's like, we're just giving you the space,
that's
and
very popular
you do
these days.
what you want with it, and bring in all of your own stuff, or they may have a very structured thing and be like, choose from one of these options of each of these sections. So it could kind of go either way.
I think important things to keep in mind with the venue, really think about the use of the space and the flow of the space when you're walking through or touring a venue.
Sure.
How, if you're having your ceremony and reception in the same place, what are the different areas? Are you going to have cocktail hour there? Cocktail hour is a really easy tool to use for getting photos done with like the bride and groom. And think about parking. If the venue has enough parking, we did not go with a couple different venues that we were considering because they had about 3 parking spaces. And they were like, yeah, you have to figure something out. And we were like, I don't know how we're going to do that with the amount of guests that we have, like, realistically, and not just relying on like Uber. So think about that. And also consider your old people or people who are differently abled. If it's got elevators or ramps, if you need them, or if you're expecting all of your guests to walk a great distance, which is not unpopular in some cases, especially in like a backyard or farm wedding. Walking across a whole field may not be accessible. Think about getting a golf cart or some sort of transportation. That's really important for the older folks, especially in like the summer months.
Definitely.
You do not want anybody passing out, which I know we already talked on. But.
Yeah. And kind of with that, make sure when you do go with one, if there is something like that where they might have to walk a big distance, to give your guests a heads up on that. To be like, hey, you might not want to wear stilettos because you're going to fall over and break your ankle in this field that you're going to have to walk through, or, whatever it is. You can kind of just be like, hey, like, just note that this is a backyard wedding or whatever, and or
keep it in mind.
Yeah. So keep that in mind when you're thinking of your attire, etc. So I think that's all important things to keep in mind when you're selecting a venue. If you are going the DIY route, like you're thinking you want to do like a backyard wedding, we might do a whole video on that at some point, because it is kind of not a whole different ball game, but there's definitely a lot more factors that you need to consider that don't really come with a regular venue typically.
And it's becoming really popular.
It is.
I'd say most of our weddings have been DIY weddings.
Yeah,
we say DIY in the sense that it's like a backyard or family house,
family owned,
or property, and you're sort of making your own venue, which comes with full control, which is awesome. And there's something to be said for that, being able to do exactly what you want, when you want, how you want it done. But also you have to make so many decisions.
Yes.
And you have to definitely hire extra vendors you wouldn't need otherwise. So I think we could do a whole video on that.
Yeah. So, and that is almost a situation where I would recommend more having a coordinator on hand, because there are extra vendors and stuff that you don't normally need to hire, like you were just saying, and just a lot of moving pieces. And a lot of times, something to consider when you're getting a venue is they already may come with a planner or a coordinator with them. So also utilize them. Throw as much on their plate as you can.
Yeah.
I've heard about other weddings where there was actually like a coordinator or a planner on hand, and they weren't really used at all, and they kind of dumped everything, like the bride kind of dumped everything on her friends to do, and so it's kind of like their friends didn't have that great of a time because they were also invited as guests. But it's kind of hard to enjoy yourself when you also have a mountain of things you feel like you have to do, and then but like you're already paying for that.
Yeah, if it's
already there with the package, utilize them.
They already know the venue super well. They know the ins and outs of the building, and they have access to everything in case you need extra chairs or tables or what have you. Or a glass gets broken or something. Those inevitable event things. It's so worth it to loop them in on things and CC them on the emails with your other vendors. Like, FYI, these people need to get in at 8 a.m. or, that kind of thing.
Yeah. So just make sure you're utilizing them. And they probably, when you're booking, will go through what they do and don't do. So which could be restricted from hiring an outside coordinator or planner as well. So just things to look at. So I kind of already mentioned this, but the probably next big vendor you would end up doing, and I'm mentioning it now because it's tied to the venue, is the caterer. A lot of times, like I was saying, is a lot of venues already have caterers built in. Sometimes the caterers own these venues or multiple venues.
A lot of the time.
So you will be working with them specifically. So that may already come with just locking down a caterer because you picked a specific venue. Otherwise, if you're not, that really is going to be one of your next major vendors to lock down, because they book up ahead of time a lot. And that is also going to be where most of your budget is going to go to, is food.
Yeah. That's usually
so
the biggest
that's
cost.
The biggest,
a lot of the time
when it comes to that. So that's really going to be the biggest thing you want to figure out at that point, because again, your guest count is that's going to affect your guest count and vice versa. You may cut people once you figure out how much you have to
Like
pay.
$250 a chair,
Yeah.
essentially.
Yeah. And some
For
venues have minimums as well for, so some people are like, I just have to invite extra people. These aren't really people I would normally invite, but I'm paying for 200
like
people.
might as well.
So may as well. Yeah, exactly.
Get your money's worth.
So, and then something else you can plan at this point is an engagement party if you're interested in having an engagement party. Not everybody enjoys that or likes doing that, but it's a nice time to celebrate you as a couple and
get some people excited. I think it's great for people who are also doing a longer engagement. You sort of get like a little taste, you get to be excited and you get to see all the people in the same place that you're gonna probably have at your wedding. And you can kind of cling to that in the wedding planning process and be like, that was really fun, we get to do that again.
Yeah.
But it's a little bit chiller. And oftentimes that's one where like family, like parents often will help you throw it, or throw it at their home or what have you, that you can be a little bit more casual with that.
Yeah. And it is just like a fun, exciting thing to do.
Yeah.
You can also start booking an engagement shoot. And the nice thing about using those or getting those engagement pictures is that then you can use them for your save the dates later.
And for your wedding website, which almost everybody does these days.
Yeah.
So that's all we had on our wedding website.
Was
like engagement photos.
Right. Yeah. And your wedding website is definitely something that you can start setting up really at any point after you get engaged. So it'd be great to throw those pictures on there. A lot of times, they'll have a whole like section where it's like, tell us how you met, and you get to tell your story and kind of rehash everything and like how he proposed or how she proposed. And so I think that's kind of a fun thing as well. Nice to keep updated as well throughout. I feel like sometimes you kind of start it, but then there's always things you need to update. Like once you actually get your wedding details down, like your guests, if they know about it, and if you've told people about their website, we'll go back there to check on details, like is there a hotel block and all that. So good to keep that updated as you can. And just don't forget to enjoy the moment, enjoy the ride. Before you get too deep into everything and start getting stressed, because you will get stressed at some point about something.
For sure.
Just remind yourself why you're doing this.
Yeah. I think it's a great idea to build in moments with your fiance to enjoy your engagement, which I think there is often very little emphasis on the joy of being engaged versus boyfriend, girlfriend, or girlfriend, girlfriend, or boyfriend, boyfriend.
Yeah.
And versus being married. I think it's a really fun phase, a really fun chapter, I should say, as someone whose engagement was extended by 2 years.
Yeah.
Because of COVID. I do have to say, like, it was still, I still have fond memories of being engaged and being excited and planning this big thing together and planning our lives together. And there was, this is a good example of ways to build in that time together to enjoy your engagement. My dad actually told Alejandro and I pretty early in our engagement a piece of advice that he and my mom, when it was about 2 weeks before their wedding, they booked like a weekend getaway. And he was like, it was local, like you don't have to go far, but just like be alone, don't have anyone around you. Come together and remember why you like each other. And he was like, I felt like I clinged to that through getting through the wedding and everything, when family's in town and there's 1,000 things to do and you probably barely seeing each other honestly through that like week of the wedding. You're just ships in the night, like, hey, did you do that thing? Okay, great, goodbye. You know, like running out the door.
Absolutely.
And I thought that was great. We did not do it. I was like, that's a great idea. But it didn't end up working for us to do that with our schedules. But I thought it was a great idea. And I think thinking about stuff like that is a really great idea to sort of come back and, you know, sort of center yourselves before this monumentous day. I did it again. It's momentous. Or monumental.
You know, I like monumentous. I think maybe it's the new thing, you know?
Yeah, I'm a trendsetter. I'm not illiterate. It's fine.
I didn't even question it the first time until you, like, caught yourself. And then,
I feel the need to call myself out so people don't think I'm stupid.
Yeah.
May still already run that risk.
They already do.
Yeah, I know. At least I'm aware of it.
Yeah. That's good. That's good. So yeah, just make sure you're enjoying it. So yeah, just a quick rundown again of kind of what we talked about, or the highlight reel really is just
I feel like
go ahead.
I was just gonna say I feel like what I tell everybody when they're like, how do I start? Your budget, your guest list, your venue.
Yep.
I just want to reiterate. Budget, guest list, venue. That is, start there.
Yes. Top 3 things, absolutely, to get through. And then you can get your other vendors from there. Some other, I'll just run through real quick, and we'll probably talk about this in more detail in another video. We'll kind of go into things that you should look for particular vendors and everything, but other vendors you're going to want to be getting after those first 3 things, which was
budget,
guest count,
venue. I almost forgot.
You got it.
Natural blonde.
Wedding planner or coordinator, again, venue caterer, photographer, videographer. If you need to get any kind of rentals, which you'll know based on your venue, that's tables, chairs, tents, etc. Music and entertainment for both the reception and the ceremony, florist, an officiant, invitation designer if you're wanting to do that, or you may just get something online, which is totally fine as well. Hair and makeup, cake, and transportation are just some other vendors to keep in mind.
Yeah,
and
I feel like
we'll talk about those in more detail at some other time.
Yeah, we can make a whole video on vendors. I feel like those are the basics that most weddings require. And
there's absolutely more you can add.
Oh yeah, I was like, I can think of some. There's definitely like some strange ones that are people get creative, or I should say unique.
Yeah.
But I feel like I do think it's worth saying on the topic of budget. I think a lot of people make the mistake of thinking vendors are where they need to cut in order to stay on budget, and I disagree in most scenarios.
Right.
I just feel like that's worth saying because trust me, you will love those people on the day of when you are not having to ice 400 cupcakes.
Wild.
Yeah.
I did that for my sister's
I know you
wedding.
did.
I did.
So,
Great.
Budget, guest list, venue. Then you get to do everything else. You can break into save the dates. You can, because you know everything right there.
Right.
You've got an answer for all the important stuff. So
then you'll also determine your date because they'll tell you what they have available and you get to choose from there.
Yeah.
And hopefully, I mean, if you already have a date in mind, they might have that. But
yeah, or close to.
Or close to it. Yeah.
Yeah, and that just opens up from there.
Yeah.
So
that's the congratulations on getting on.
You did it! Yay!
Woo! So that's where you need to start, and we'll throw you some more.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining us.
Congrats.
Bye. Oh, I'm waving to the camera. That was probably like 45.
I'm cool with that.
Yeah, which is that's 52, and there's definitely a couple minutes we're gonna cut out of there. So that's nice.
is that?
I don't know.
Is that the siding of my house?
Dude, it fucking sounds like it. What? Are your trash cans blowing around?
Maybe that's it. Wait, the pool! The pool is broken!
Oh my god!
Oh my god!
Oh shit.
Is this a tornado?
Fucking windy.
Oh my god. I cannot believe that. That is metal!
Damn. Holy shit.
Fuck.
Well. All right.
Okay, well here, let me check my battery.
Oh yeah. We're at 26.